Dragon's Dogma, released in 2012 by Capcom and directed by Hideaki Itsuno. Together, they created an absolute gem of a game, which has developed a cult-like status over the past decade, which has led to fans pleading for a sequel. With Dragon's Dogma 2 just released, I thought if I didn't play this game now, it would be in my backlog gathering dust until the third game releases. In this video, we'll be platinuming the Dark Arisen version released on the PS4, which has a more difficult trophy list comparing to its PS3 counterpart. Coming in with 60 trophies, a difficulty of 6 out of 10, estimated 3 minimum playthroughs, and a 90-hour completion time. Now, listen up class, there are a few platinum breaking trophies that we'll need to keep an eye out prior to starting our adventure. We have to ensure we complete all pre-planned non-notice board quests. This is highly missable if we fail to speak to the right people at the correct time throughout the playthrough. Complete the game on hard mode. Now, the guide actually recommends 3 playthroughs when you're meant to tackle hard mode after you've already completed the game for a first time. Because of the Chad that I am, we will be wasting no time and diving straight into hard mode and only doing 2 playthroughs. Complete the game via a speedrun mode where we are unable to die, and finally reach level 200. After all is accomplished, and by the end of this video, I end up losing my soul and questioning the meaning of life. In another place, in another life, another child of man blazes your path. After the text intro appears, I thought I had actually done something wrong, as we are thrown into this universe playing as an unknown character. From what can be gathered, we are hunting a dragon, and eventually are put face to face with a chimera. Me now concerned for my safety, we take on a part lion, part goat, and part snake creature with varied degrees of success. Eventually, we slay the beast, completing our first quest, and a cutscene begins. The dragon gives us a proposition: flee now or step forth.
Take hold of what lies beyond. Claim mastery.
The cutscene ends with doors opening, inferring that we did in fact take on the dragon's challenge. For our efforts in completing the very confusing intro, we unlock It Begins. Countless lifetimes come to pass. A French quote then displays, which translates to the delightful and ever novel pleasure of a useless occupation. Now, getting into the exciting part, a rift opens in front of us, spawning a dragon that drops into this world as we see it flying towards a body of land. The character creation screen appears. Thankfully, this game features a wide variety of options at our disposal, which means we hit the lab. The final product is Endgame Thor!
I'm still worthy.
Thor enters the land of Cassidus. Unfortunately, we can't enjoy the beautiful morning as the dragon we saw earlier is approaching our village. Eventually, we get a good whack. The dragon, now surprised with his splinter, decides to pluck out our heart from our bodies and eats it while it is still beating. We pass out when the game title enters the screen. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, this is actually where the game ends. That is, of course, until Kina, a local to our village, tends to our aid. Once we regain consciousness, we now have a scar from where our heart once was. We go to touch the scar and hear the dragon speak to us. The dragon now pushes us to take up arms to eventually challenge the dragon to win our heart back. back. We are now able to select our starting vocation, which is this game's class system. The fighter was the only valid choice for us at this point in the game. When leaving our room, we walk into a conversation between Kina and Adaro, her father. Adaro believes that our scar resembles a curse set upon us. Searching for answers, we leave our house and see the aftermath of the dragon's devastation. Thankfully, with the PS4 edition, we find ourselves gifted with gear upon commencement, which we promptly suit up with. When we approach the exit gate, a rift opens up in front of our eyes. A man drops down, sharing the same glow that we have. A conversation with Adaro opens up to us as he explains the man that has appeared to us is a pawn. Dragon's Dogma hosts one of the most unique gameplay systems that I have seen. The pawn system, to provide a simple explanation, are not human and come from an unknown location. I interpreted pawns as a sort of shadow to the main character. In combat, they mimic the main character's behavioral patterns, basically acting as a sponge throughout the game until eventually they are a carbon copy of your actions. Upon leaving Cassidus, we unlock the Onward trophy for continuing our journey. We follow along the path which leads us to one of this game's many side quests. Reynard is under attack by goblins and is up to us to launch a rescue. We make quick work of the goblins, especially when our pawn cloaks our weapon with a fine enchantment. Speaking to Reynard after combat, we discover that he is a traveling salesman who gives us his thanks before running away. Continuing along the path, we go into an encampment, and as we enter, a voice calls us by Arisen. We seek out the voice and speak to a rift stone, in which the Pawn Legion communicates to us. This rift is only open to an Arisen. You may be asking yourself, what is an Arisen? Basically, the Arisen has the power to command pawns. To prove our strength, we accept a quest from the Rift Stone to defeat a Cyclops. I attempt to jump onto the Cyclops' back to get more damaging strike with my sword. You are able to basically grab and scale all large enemies in this game, and your only restriction is via your stamina meter. As the Cyclops continues to swing around, my stamina continues to drain as Thor attempts to stay on the beast. I jump off the beast as I continued the old-fashioned hack and slash at the feet. The Cyclops falls after a grueling battle as a mysterious figure departs the battlefield. We approach the rift to report back our victory. We receive affirmation that we are truly the Arisen. In this world, no Arisen can walk alone. The rift opens up for us to create our main pawn companion. For Thor's companion, we require a person who is merciless in nature, violent with no remorse, and is infamous in name, the god of war himself, Kratos. Kratos spawns into the land, pleading loyalty to us as the Arisen. We unlock a new ally trophy for summoning our very own pawn. Progressing the story, we meet Casca from Berserk. She shares the encampment for us to stay and rest for the evening. We accept the offer and settle in for the night. We are awoken by chaos unfolding around us. By turning to see what is causing the madness, we see a giant snake, and not just any snake, a Hydra. To defeat the Hydra, we jump onto one of its heads and start wailing away with our sword. Eventually, one of our swipes cuts one of the Hydra's head clean off, sending it soaring throughout the air. The Hydra flees. The cut off head gives us a smell of one of the most bad breaths of all time. Definitely needs a mint. Casca says, with the now decapitated head, we are invited to gift the Hydra head straight to the Duke of the Peninsula. Casca invites us to join in on the march towards the Duke's kingdom, and we indulge, unlocking the Getting Ahead trophy. We are tasked with rendezvousing with Casca's forces. However, prior to departing for the capital, we travel back to Cassidus. On our travels, we interact with the Riftstone again to transition into the pawn world. In Dragon's Dogma, your main pawn is able to be enlisted by other players, and in turn will unlock new strategies to defeat enemies and complete quests. This system is the biggest excitement point for Dragon's Dogma 2, and I really hope it continues to be fleshed out. Now with our party of 4, the game turns into a permanent Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring movie, as the game features no fast travel and the only way to venture to new places is via walking. Walking into Cassidus, we are interrupted by the same mysterious figure from earlier.
Are you come to lead the pawns in a quest to slay the dragon? Will or nill, the Arisen is always drawn to the dragon. The dragon is ever born anew into the world, and with it too, the Arisen. All Arisen seek out the dragon, but lucky are the few who attain an audience with the beast, while yet they live. They think to grow their numbers and hunt the dragon. But they shall soon learn their lot will e'er be as prey.
Heading into Pablo's Inn, we run into a unique character named Madeline. She is a peddler and requires an escort of the Arisen up to the encampment. Completing our escorting duties, we speak to Madeline again, who requests 1,000 gold from us to cover the trip expense to the capital. As an honourable Arisen that we are, we fund Madeline's trip. Upon leaving the encampment, we are greeted by a man named Elvar. He seeks out Kina, who is now missing. As we continue to dwindle further away from the main story progression, we go into the woods to search for Kina. Thankfully, we find her safe and sound. However, she explains that she is searching for the witch in the woods, who can understand the language of the dragons. She requests our companionship in delving deeper into the woods to find the witch. We end up uncovering the witch's hideout stashed in the woods. Entering inside, expecting to find an old, weltering witch. Instead, we find a girl. Her name is Celine, and the witch that was active in the woods turns out to be her grandmother, and unfortunately has passed on. Celine's grandmother never did teach Celine the dragon language due to fear of her being branded a heretic. Kina returns home and we report our success to her father. Unfortunately, no dragon language for us just yet. Getting back on track with the main story, we approach the rendezvous point to meet Casca. After speaking to Casca, a gate opens up and we are ready to transport an old rotting Hydra head to the capital. On our trip, we face goblins, harpies, and wolves. Eventually, to continue, we open up a gate that lets a swarm of goblins through. We cut and slay our way through to make a clear path for the Hydra's head. Just as we turn a corner, we see a glimpse of Grand Soren, the capital of Grandseas. Casca departs our party to report directly to the Duke. Just as she turns, we have a man watching us in the background. His name turns out to be Mason. He gives us the advice to check out the Pawns Guild now that we are in the capital. Now that our treacherous journey is complete, we unlock the Courier trophy. Traveling back to Cassidus, we speak to Pole, who heard some noises down in the well. Upon entering, we unlock the Into the Dripstone Cave trophy. Exploring deeper into the mines, we discover lizardmen. With no choice but to jump, we leap into the opportunity for combat. After slaying the final lizardmen, we get a pop-up to report back to Pole. Now, you may have noticed how dark the gameplay is. This is due to me forgetting I have a lantern equipped, as it is sadly out of oil. When I add oil into the lantern, I unlock the Arisen trophy for combining 2 items. Returning to Pole, we are given 1,500 gold for our troubles, and we are one step closer to our hero trophy. Consulting the notice board, we collect all available quests available to start making progress towards the Laborer trophy for completing 50 notice board quests. Accepting Material Witness, we are tasked with escorting Benita to a location just outside Grand Soren. Upon delivering Benita to a desired location, we are complete our esteemed escorting service and unlock the Escort trophy. Getting back on track with the story, we finally seek out the Pawn Guild and speak to Barnaby, who is the pawn who caretakes the guild. The guild offers a safe haven for pawns as a gate for the Everfall. The Everfall lies beneath Grand Soren as a sacred place for pawns, as they have acted as the caretaker since their appearance. Barnaby requests our assistance, and we are escorted deeper into the guild. We are met with a gate which is acting as an entrance to the Everfall. Ever since the dragon has appeared, there has been a strange aura that has filled the Everfall. Barnaby asks us to investigate, and we gladly accept the challenge. Prior to entering into the Everfall, we enter into the craftsman house. We speak to Austin, who asks us to listen to him for a while. We accept and hear about the child lying on the ground is actually his son, who has passed recently. The heartbroken father looked into magic to somehow bring back his child from death. He hands us a stone, which is said to have powerful magic that can bring back even the dead once fully assembled. After accepting the quest to bring back a father's son from the dead, we continue exploring Grand Soren. So much so that we unlock the Tourist for visiting 50 locations. Now that we are ready to enter the Everfall, we discover it is a winding chamber that we have to descend. On our descent, we slay spiders, bats, zombies, and skeleton warriors. All was going swimmingly until I was face to face with an ogre. I try and scale the beast until it jumps on its back and I am squished to death. This ogre was nearly a hard playthrough killer for me, as I would die over and over again trying to slay the beast until we are finally able to have the fight of our dreams. The ogre plummets to his death and our hard playthrough is still surviving. Now finally making it to the ground floor, we collect a Wakestone shard, which forms a fully completed Wakestone. We then pick up a Port Crystal, which acts as a mobile fast travel point in this game. And then we interact with the glowing from the Everfall. It appears we investigated for too long, as flesh-eating tentacles begin infinitely spawning around us. With no other choice, we begin running all the way back up the Everfall, making it back to safety behind the closed gate. Reporting back to Barnaby, he reveals that even pawns know very little of the Everfall. However, the light we discovered is confirmed to be new. Exiting the Pawn Guild, we are met with a salute and provided with a message directly from the Duke. With our effort slaying the Hydra's head, we are formally invited to participate in a worm hunt. We are directed to speak to the captain of the hunt, Sir Maximilian, to continue the quest. After the messenger runs away, the writ large trophy pops. We are now able to return to the blacksmith with our completed Wakestone. We approach his son and use the Wakestone. The Savior trophy unlocks as the blacksmith's son rises from the dead.
A miracle! 'Tis a miracle!
Making our way to the captain, he gives us a selection of 4 missions. Decipher a text, rout a monster infestation, investigate a cult, and aid a research team. We begin with deciphering a text, which sees the captain handing over a strange text with the rough translation of Dragon, Scar, Arisen, Heart. Arriving at a strange set of rocks, we are greeted by a strange man who triggers the glow of the Arisen. Even stranger still, we find another man who congratulates us for being able to see him. He gives us a bow and states that he was once like us. Through our bond with the dragon, we are ushered inside as we get a wide scoping shot of the mountain. Speaking again to the man, we find out his name is Dragonforged. It is revealed that he was once a previous Arisen, with his companion being his previous pawn. The text that required deciphering turns out to be nothing more than a mechanism for us to seek out the Dragonforged. Returning to the captain, he is surprised to hear that it is not a text but a cipher to bring the Arisen to the Dragonforged. He recommends we listen to what the Dragonforged tells us, and that completes the first of 4 quests. Prior to adventuring further, I unlock the Human Resources trophy for changing our vocation. I also unlock the Inhuman Resources for changing the vocation of our pawn. Next up in the captain's quest is to investigate a cult. It is a society called the Salvation, who are branded a band of heretics who worship the dragon. We discover the cult hiding out deep underground. The cult leader is revealed to be Elysion, who was the strange man at the beginning of the game. Elysion unleashes a spell of undead onto his followers in an act to stop us. We slay the undead and continue onwards. We run into Mason, who lets us know the leader escaped. However, he has captured one of the followers to the cult. Mason leaves us with an impossible choice for the Arisen. Do we execute the follower or let him live? For the platinum run, we are required to do Mason's quest later in the story, which leaves us with only one option.
The Arisen.
Mason congratulates the Arisen and expresses his trust towards us. He departs, and we report our findings to the captain. Prior to accepting our 3rd mission for the captain, we continue exploring Grandseas. We encounter a man named Alon, who needs to travel through the mine. However, it infested with my worst enemy, trolls. As we are a chivalrous Arisen, we accept the quest and venture into the mine. Upon entering, we receive the Into the Ancient Quarry trophy. Adventuring through, we are face to face with another troll, and nothing has changed. This fight took me over an hour of sheer pain. Eventually, I returned the next day and found that I could hide away in a crevice while my pawns dealt the remaining amount of damage. We report back to Alon, who thanks us for clearing out the quarry. We will now find that the quarry will be filled with merchants from the capital later in the game due to our actions. Returning to the captain, we accept the quest to aid a research team. We meet Jeffrey, who tells us to rendezvous with the search party that has already departed. We meet Hazlet, who is a member of the search party. Unfortunately, a member of the party, Brother John, has went missing. Discovering what appears to be a crime scene turns out to be Brother John. Delivering the bad news to Jeffrey, we are asked to survey the ruins in the absence of John. We deliver all 5 altar slates that we collected in the ruins. Hazlet thanks us for our efforts, and we are able to tick the 3rd quest off the books. While we are outside the capital, I approached a bandit outpost that is made up of only women. To complete the quest for the outpost, I required a full party of women, or at least, as Kratos recommended, a man dressed in women's clothes. After putting on our new drip and unlocking a Queen's Regalia trophy, we approach the bandit leader and accept the quest. Reapproaching the captain now to accept his 4th and final quest. We now have to rout an infestation, which includes a fortress under attack by a horde of goblins, which they have now claimed. We are tasked with claiming back the fortress, and thus we travel to the battlefield. Approaching the fort, we are briefed on the situation by Sir Robert. We infiltrate inside the fort and slay any goblins that come our way. Further inside the fort, we activate a lever which opens the gate to enable our troops to rush in. After slaying enough goblins, reinforcements are called and we are tasked with slaying the chieftain for the goblins. Hunting down the chief enables us to deal a devastating final blow. We see the final goblins flee the fortress, and Sir Robert declares an overwhelming victory for us. Returning to the capital, I visit the Black Cat store, which is ran by Montebank, who is able to duplicate items for a fee. I hand over a bronze idol, which I'll be using later to gift to merchants to raise my affinity with the vendor, thus granting me a discount on their wares. Returning to the Black Cat after resting for a couple of days enables me to pick up my duplicated bronze idol, thus unlocking the Knave trophy. Reporting back to the captain for the final time, we are granted with an audience with the Duke himself and wishes to give his thanks for all of our service. We enter inside the Duke's inner castle and are met with the Jester. He guides us into the Grand Hall, but not without placing a Jester's hat on top of our heads for the sole reason of public humiliation. We get laughed at by all of the soldiers inside the hall, and once the laughter subsides, we approach the Duke. He too, unfortunately, cracks a joke at us, but then proceeds to anoint us as a member into the Worm Hunt. Once the cutscene concludes, we unlock the Come Courting trophy. As we leave the castle, we observe a lady inspecting the garden in the distance. Approaching her enters into a cutscene where it is heavily alluded to that she is attracted to our Jester's hat.
What do you mean by that?
Her name is Eleanor and has recently become the Duke's wife. The conversation concludes with her taking our hat as a keepsake of our meeting. Upon trying to leave the Duke's inner castle, we are interrupted by Aldos, who serves the Duke as the Chamberlain in the Duke's court. Aldos himself is the custodian of royal orders that are now available to us to complete when we are ready. Exploring the capital further has us stumbling into Madeline's shop. Once we speak with her, we unlock the Patron Trophy for helping Madeline to open her shop. Returning to the fortress we just liberated from goblins, see us tasked with taking down a Cyclops for a notice board quest. Once we enter into the previously goblin-owned caves, we unlock the Into the Frontier Caverns trophy. We make light work of the Cyclops, completing the notice board quest, and we travel back to Grand Soren via a ferry stone. Returning to the royal castle, sees us talking to the Queen's maid. The maid delivers us a message that she wishes to see the Arisen again. Even the maid herself is surprised with this request. We attend to the Queen's bedchamber, where she confesses her love for us.
What?
Before the Arisen is able to respond, we hear the Duke and Jester approach. While we are hiding, the King appears to have snapped, shouting a name Lenore while trying to kill his wife. We approach the king to interrupt what is currently unfolding. It appears the thunder breaks the Duke out of his trance and he is now confused where he is. The Queen, now understandably flustered, tries to explain the situation. Her solution: sells the Arisen out by saying we broke in and as punishment we need to be sent to the dungeon. Once we are beaten and left to rot in jail, the Queen herself enters into our cell. She tries to explain that this was the only way we could both survive with our lives. The Queen hands over the keys and tells us to run away. When the cutscene ends, I unlock the Vagabond trophy for discovering 100 locations. We utilize the key to free ourselves from the dungeon and re-equip our gear. It is at this point where all NPCs simply forget we were locked up in the dungeon and do not question how we freed ourselves. Making our way down the hall, we unlock a different cell, freeing a man named Ansel. Unfortunately, he was at the wrong place at the wrong time and was thrown into the dungeon for overhearing a conversation between two guards. Ansel joins us in our escape through the depths of the dungeon, and once we escape, we unlock the Affinity and Beyond trophy for raising a person's affinity to maximum. I guess he really loved us for breaking him out. Returning into the Duke's castle sees us speaking to a man named Fidel. He wishes to talk at night when it is less obvious. Visiting Fidel in the courtyard at night sees him asking the Arisen to seek out a highly confidential letter on his behalf. We accept the quest, and we end up entering through a door which unlocks the Into Soulflare Canyon trophy. We discover the letter deep into the canyon, which sees us returning to the capital. Prior to returning to Fidel, we get up to a little bit of mischief ourselves, duplicating the letter by speaking to the Black Cat. We do this as there is a man named Sir Gabriel who also wants the letter for his own reasons. Seeing no reason to double dip, we give one letter to Gabriel and also return the letter to Fidel, completing 2 quests at one time. At this point, we receive a quest as Witch Hunt, as we are made aware that there are men looking to take out Celine in the woods. Once we arrive to aid Celine, we see the men flee the house due to a glowing purple golem being activated. We enter into battle with the golem that sees us crawling over exterior to hit the glowing weak points. Eventually I get the golem's health down to a slither, and I use my arrows to hit the weak point on his hand. Now the golem has been defeated, I discover that there is a hidden door in a tree that was once blocked due to where the golem was positioned. Venturing through more woods, we eventually find Celine with a ghost. It casually comes up in conversation that Celine is actually a pawn and her grandma was actually her master, which has appeared as a ghost right in front of us. Her grandma then begins describing the process of what known as bestowal of spirit, which is where all pawns begin taking on the appearance of their master. So much so that Celine is wishing to become human, and her former Arisen grants it. We see a cutscene where the former Arisen grants Celine her heart. This enables Celine to make her own choices, and it frees her from being an endless echo, also known as a pawn. The questline ends with Celine now moving into the Arisen's home, and I find it to be the most compelling side mission in the whole entire game, as it made me ask all these questions around the purpose of a pawn and what truly is the purpose of them. Getting back on task with the main questline, I speak to Aldos, who has 2 quests for us. The first is to aid a corpse on a hunting expedition. This sees us destroying a Griffith, a part of a group with soldiers. The second quest is to gather evidence for an important trial. This mission tasks the Arisen to prove a man's innocence or let him be found guilty. Thankfully, due to our actions, the verdict is
Not guilty.
Returning to Aldos, he has one final mission for us to tackle. The Royal Order sees us having to assist Casca. When leaving the Royal Castle, we speak to Casca. She asks the Arisen the opportunity to prove herself. We accept and make our way to Windbluff Tower. Entering up the tower sees Casca running along ahead of us. Upon entering, we confront Julian. Julian has been a bit of a sneaky man. He originally comes from a land named Volda. He has been working in the shadows, having ties to the Cult of Salvation and getting information from Madeline. Julian's ultimate goal is to stop a second dragon from being slain, as if the Duke or any soldier from Granseys in that matter were to kill another dragon, it would lead to a global power shift, placing Granseys on top of the pecking order. A fight breaks out between Casca and Julian. We are an observer, choosing to act or continue to observe. I act, placing fireballs into Julian. Julian falls. However, I actually utilize a stalled up wake stone to bring him back to life. Julian accepts his fate and returns to the capital, being at the mercy of the legal system, as he will confess to his crimes against Granseys. When speaking to Casca, she is ashamed that she wasn't able to defeat Julian on her own. Her spirit has been defeated, and she returns to Hearthstone, her original home, to gather aid for Granseys. We return to the capital, and more specifically, the dungeon, as we actually free Julian from his cell. He expresses his newfound hope that the Arisen himself will slay the dragon, signifying a change of heart for the man that would once hope to destroy Grancy's global power. Reporting back to Aldos for the final time, he mentions that the Duke himself has taken notice of our efforts. We approach the Duke, and he has a reward for us. We follow him down to the treasury, where we are met with gold and equipment. Just as we were in the middle of plundering, an urgent messenger arrives. The Great Wall, which we took back from goblins, has now been taken over by the leader of the Salvation. The Duke himself tasks us with taking back the fortress. Once the cutscene concludes, the messenger trophy unlocks. Prior to attending the Duke's call, we discover that the Queen has been locked up, awaiting for the King to execute her. From a scene straight out of Shrek, we disguise ourselves in royal armor to enter into the Duke's manse.
Well, at least we know where the princess is.
Upon entering, we unlock into the manse trophy. We enter into the Queen's chamber, and the Queen herself falls for the Arisen head over heels. We attempt to escape the Duke's manor by slaying the guards stationed at their posts. When we go deep underground, the path we take begins to be disjointed and decrepit. So much so that we have to carry the Queen over gaps in the path. We meet up with my pawn companions, and we continue as a party of 5 to escape. Finally, we enter through a gate, which is thankfully the exit for the manse. We find the Queen's servant awaiting for us. The Queen confesses her love and departs to Mallory as she flees the Duke and the dragon. Now that we have saved the damsel in distress, we are able to attend to the Duke's urgent request. Upon entering the fortress, 2 Cyclops are released onto us. We make light work of the Cyclops, as I was playing as a Gandalf type build at this stage of the game, laying down lightning spells from afar which would prevent the Cyclops from moving. After the first one fell, it didn't take any time at all before the second one fell from our hands. After blasting our way through the castle, we arrive at the rooftop. We interrupt the leader of the cult, who was conducting some sort of spell with 2 of his followers. The leader slays his own men as their bodies are sucked into a different world. What replaces them are 2 whites that are solely here to destroy us. We attempt to take down the whites through magic attacks. However, it is the beginning to be ineffective and resource draining. One of the whites deploys a tornado attack that downs all of my pawns, and I'm hanging on through sheer grit. When the attack subsides, I rush in to pick up every one of my companions, and we're only thinking of one thing: revenge. Through a series of calculated magic attacks and dispersing our attacks between the wits, they are defeated at the same time. The cult leader appears to begin to summon the dragon to our very location.
Merciful winged death! All powerful and merciless Grigori! Behold, you unrepentant blasphemers! This is absolute truth! This is salvation!
This is it. The cult leader being squished, and we are left face to face with the dragon that started it all. The dragon tells us that his death will be the only thing that stops destruction. However, he straight up tells us that we are not ready for the fight. He leaves us with a departing statement of,
If you would face me, seek me out, and I shall allow it.
the dragon takes flight, leaving the ground below him to crumble. This leads to an action scene of us running for our lives until we ultimately fall alongside the debris. Thankfully, no harm is done to us, and when the cutscene concludes, we unlock the Rough Landing trophy. At this stage, I took We went from level 50 to level 96, and I'm now a Mystic Knight. When traveling back to the capital, I unlock all skills for the Mystic Knight class, which unlocks the Specialist trophy. Feeling prepared and ready to take on the dragon, we return to the fortress and enter through a gate previously locked. The words appear, "Thus you tread the path of all true Arisen, to face the dragon and learn the real truth." The black fades and we are in the same location as where we were in the prologue to the game. How awesome. We are put face to face with a similar chimera in which we easily slay. The doors open and it is now in our hands to venture further than ever before. We enter the coolest set in the game, the Dragon's Lair. The dragon begins the conversation by questioning our purpose in the lair, as we could have easily have stayed and hid away. Then we notice the goblins chasing someone in the distance. It's the Queen. The dragon offers us a bargain. The first option is to stay and fight for our heart and saving the Queen. Another option is to sacrifice the one most dear to us, and which apparently is the Queen. Included in this bargain, the dragon will flee the land and we will be able to rule as an unquestioned duke. The cutscene ends and it was too simple of a choice for me. That is right. King Thor rules the land. Oh wait, that must have been the wrong choice. At least we unlocked the Solitude trophy.
Let's try this again.
I approached the dragon, ready for the fight of my life, and after confirming our decision, the fight begins. The Queen flees the battle scene, which leaves it only to be us versus the dragon. Unfortunately, the dragon's lair is too unstable for us, as we make a dash for something with more stable roof. The dragon follows, creating a scene reminiscent of Temple Run. The chase comes to a close, enabling an opportunity for us to fight back. The dragon flees the scene, beckoning us to follow. We indulge, running over a decrepit path while the dragon breathes fire through strafing rounds. Eventually, we're able to scale through a fort with a ballista on top. We mount the ballista, searching for our target, the dragon. We fire and everything goes black. Our shot is a direct hit that sees the dragon launch a kamikaze run. Once the attack finishes, we find ourselves on the dragon's back. Through scaling our way up to the glowing aura, we strike the dragon. This leads us being faced directly with the dragon's mouth. Through a successful quicktime event, we thankfully do not get eaten. And the dragon's chest explodes when the mark of the Arisen interacts with it. When we land, we find ourselves in an arena, ready to end this once and for all. The fight consists of us attempting to attack the dragon's chest. Our training paid off. The dragon fell spectacularly fast to our attacks. Once the dragon falls, the sky turns black and the dragon speaks his final words.
Stubborn child. Whatever meaning life holds, it makes men deaf to all reason. Heed me well, Arisen. In my death, you've won a future for this world. But what that future spells for you, for all men, is a truth you'll find staring back from this world's utmost depth.
We now observe a cinematic cutscene that sees part of the capital crumble, exposing a large crater into the everfall. Our heart is restored. The dragon forged is reduced to dust, and the Duke himself ages centuries in front of our eyes, and then we see the dragon reduced to ashes as well. We are then reunited with the Queen and the credits roll, signifying the end of Dragon's Dogma. Thank you all for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Drop a comment down below and I'll be sure to respond, and I will catch you all in the next one. Sorry guys, I've done it again. This is not the end of the game. You may have believed that this game is a simple hero defeats dragon story, but Dragon's Dogma has never been about that. It is about the story of one who is able to break the cycle. Once we wake up, we unlock the Destiny trophy for slaying the dragon, as well as the Dragon Forged, which is the 4th tier enchantment that is unlocked when defeating a dragon. Inspecting my equipment, I notice I have gathered new items. My eyes fill with excitement as I finally ascertained the hammer. Exploring Gransees with a blacked out sky makes it look like a desolate wasteland. I make a break for the capital as I have some unfinished business to attend to with the Duke. When we enter into the Duke's chamber, we pull down the blinds to reveal the old husk of a man that he has become. The Duke fails to conceive the idea that we are an Arisen that could slay the dragon. He begins to accuse us that we took the dragon's bargain. Driven mad, the Duke begins swinging his sword and a boss battle begins. We easily dispatch the Duke and he is defeated, however, not killed. We are branded as a traitor to the crown and driven out of the castle. With royal guards hot on our tail, we flee to the urban quarter. We hit a roadblock as the everfall is now completely open to the elements. As guards begin to close in on us, harpies shoot out the everfall. We find that the everfall is almost staring right back at us, and we fall into the everfall. We begin free falling and are asked to climb onto a ledge. We pull ourselves up and find a strange voice communicating directly with us, talking cryptic about a yoke that binds us. We now unlock the Treacherous trophy. Now that we are granted full access to the Everfall, there are a total of 15 chambers that we must adventure through to slay different beasts for trophies, as well as gathering up 20 wake stones to enable us to be transported to the final sequence of the game. The first chamber is the Chamber of Confusion, which houses the tentacle monster that plagued us earlier in the game. You may have already noticed, but one of my favourite spells with the Mystic Knight class is without a doubt the Great Cannon. Once I flick my hammer with an enchantment, I can attack from afar with significant damage. The giant eyeball cannot hold the damage that we inflict. It eventually falls, being stunned, and we go in with the finisher. For our efforts, we unlock the Eye Contact trophy for defeating an evil eye. Next up in our hit list of monsters, we are in the Chamber of Hesitation, and a full Hydra is awaiting our path. Unfortunately for us, when we slay a Hydra's head, it grows back this time. My first attempt up against this beast sees us being swallowed by the monster. I failed the quick time event that leads us being helpless in watching the Arisen slowly being swallowed. The only thing that would have saved me in this situation was if the Hydra's head was cut clean off. I see my pawns try over and over and over again until the inevitable. Time for take 2. This fight took around 10 minutes of pure stamina and focus. Eventually, we are able to slay the beast, unlocking Headhunter and level 100. Along our way in the Everfall, we land at the Chamber of Woe, which unlocks the Explorer trophy. One of the most challenging chambers is the Chamber of Lament. Upon entering, we have to jump down a massive arena. This looks like a vibe like nothing else in this game. Now I thought it was at this time I would try and venture into the next arena, until I see pawns launching an attack at us. A message appears. A powerful enemy lurks nearby. Beware. engaging any pawns in battle, for they must be under its influence. After defeating the pawns, we see a corrupted dragon fly into the arena to battle us. This dragon fight is one of the most surprising this game has to offer. This fight features a live multiplayer mechanic that sees multiple players versus the same dragon in their own worlds while contributing to the same health bar. This means that all your effort could go to waste if you do not land the final hit on the beast. It is for this very reason that I have been playing offline leading into this fight. This fight took over an hour, ever slowly twinkling down the dragon's health bar. After slaying the beast, we unlock the Messiah for defeating the Dragon. For our efforts, we enter into the rewards chamber where we have wake stones awaiting our collection, as well as a stone tablet that acts as a leaderboard for the most dragon kills. Now with our wake stones assembled, we are ready for the end. Prior to activating them, I went and defeated a wyvern to unlock the Serpent's Bane trophy. Additionally, I finally completed 50 notice board quests to unlock the Labourer. My final task prior to the end was to gift 50 items. It was Caxton's very lucky day, as I wanted to max his affinity to ensure I get a high discount on his wares. Once I hand over 50 items, we unlock the Lava Flower trophy. Now for the end. We activate 20 wake stones that sees a rift open up in the Grandfall. With zero hesitation, we leap into the rift. We get dropped down into the pawn world, now with a mysterious figure sitting on a throne. Most importantly, we unlock the Freedom trophy for escaping the yoke of eternity. Approaching the figure, he makes the objective clear. Defeat him and take his place as the keeper of this world. The battle begins with the Seneschal, who is basically God. He launches a surge of pure light at us, and we try and hit him, and all that happens is that he disappears. Eventually, the Seneschal appears behind us. He puts on a demonstration of his power as the Seneschal. He creates and summons a pawn, which is also a perfect copy of us. A second fight breaks out this time. We are able to lay hits out with our hammer, and the Seneschal falls. However, it is revealed to be the copy of us. The Seneschal appears again, asking us to decide. We are showing ourselves in the same form prior to the dragon appearing with a rift to Cassidus. This option was way too appealing to me, as I wanted to live the peaceful fishing life. After accepting the offer, I ran into Kina and her father again. We hear the Seneschal speak to us, saying that the fear got to us. However, no matter, as he will await someone else worthy enough. The credits begin to roll, and this is the end of the game. Oh, my bad. This isn't the ending either. However, we unlock the trophy piece for taking the refuge inside an illusion. We reload our save and begin the walk to the Seneschal. We pass each of our main and side characters in the game as they begin attacking us in our path. Eventually, we make it to the Seneschal, who reveals their identity. It is Savon, the character we played as in the prologue to this game. Savon summons his own pawn as Kratos joins us in one final battle to become God. I try an interesting strategy of no armor or weapons, as the wrath of my fist will lead me to victory. Unfortunately, my strategy didn't go ahead as planned. Savon releases a surge of energy that finishes us in one hit. We see ourselves fall through a rift back to our regular world. However, this time, the intro cutscene is played again, as we have turned into the dragon that will seek out a new Arisen to begin the cycle again, in the hope of one day someone strong enough will take the place of the Seneschal. We see the end credits played, and this is 100,000% the end of the game. My mistake. This is not the end. For our death, we unlock servitude for soaring onto a new world. Reloading our save, and this time when Savon prepares his all-out attack, we see Kratos grab a hold of him as we use the power of friendship to defeat God. We see Savon hit the ground out cold until he returns to his throne within a flash. Savon hands us the God's Bane blade, as it is the only weapon that can kill a Seneschal. Savon is relieved that he can finally be released from the jail that is time. We plunge the blade into Savon as we see him magically blow away. We unlock the Mercy Trophy, as we are now the official god to this very world. I sit on my new throne, and it opens up a rift that enables the god of this world to see his people. Unfortunately for us, the life of God is beyond boring, as we are invisible to everyone. We have all the power in the world, however we are bound to the never-ending presence of time itself. I returned to my throne hoping for something new. It was at this moment that I remember that I still have the God's Bane blade. I hold the weapon and I aim it at us. By utilizing its purpose, we pass on, freeing ourselves from the time prison. We complete the final quest in the game, which unlocks the hero. Kratos eventually inspects the god-slaying weapon. He must have been having flashbacks. Until a rift opens up, dropping both myself and Kratos back into the world. We see the bestowal of spirit as we plunge into the sea. Kratos suddenly wakes up now in Thor's body. The queen comes over to guide the new human away from the beach as the camera pans away, signifying an end to the chain and an uncertainty to the world without a Seneschal. The first time playing through this moment had me feeling a lot like,
my time has come. You must continue your journey without me. What are you? What?
The actual real credits play, and upon their conclusion, we unlock closure for putting an end to things, as well as unlocking Hardened Veteran for completing the game in hard. Now, for the post-game content, we get straight to work as we unlock the Foreign Recruitment Trophy for enlisting a pawn to our party from beyond the rift, and we also unlock the Local Recruitment Trophy for directly enlisting a pawn to our party. We blasted our way through the Dark Arisen DLC. This DLC sees us travelling to the Bitter Black Isle and proves to be the greatest challenge yet for the Platinum. This includes being put face to face with a giant eye boss, in which we were easily able to defeat due to the weak spot being the eye itself. Upon its defeat, we unlock Eye Gouger. We are also put face to face with literal death itself, which we were thankfully able to cheese with some blast arrows. Ironically, we unlock the Cheat Death Trophy when it dies. Eventually, when we progress far enough, we come across the Dark Bishop, who is able to summon dragons to support his fight. Thankfully, once I took out the dragon, he was stunned on the floor, which enabled me to use the one singular attack until he finally died, which unlocked the Inquisitor Trophy. Very shortly after, we find ourselves in a dark section that can activate light beacons. The beacon actually kills enemies for us, and at this moment, it was my 3000th enemy defeated, unlocking the Veteran. Now, for the big bad baddie for the Dark Arisen DLC. It is a demon named Damon. He was the most challenging boss fight I encountered throughout this entire game. It even beats the dragon that took me over an hour. This made me want to prepare for him as much as I could prior to facing him. In this dark section of the game, death spawns in again. We utilize our trusty blast arrows and kill death again that pops millions of XP for us. Thankfully as well, this is a farming method, as death respawns each time we re-enter into the room. This triggers our second anime training arc. At the end of our training, we max out our level, unlocking the level 200 trophy. Preparing my pawn army for the big battle, we unlock the captain for enlisting 70 different pawns. We now make our way to Damon's tomb as I take in the serenity around us, eagerly anticipating and dreading the fight just ahead of us. Upon entering, we see Damon in his true glory, a large demon fit to be the true test for any proven Arisen. I found this fight to be brutally fun. The music captivated the mood as I barely did any damage despite being maxed out at this time. I found little success with finding a weakness and I resorted to climbing his face and attacking the head. Eventually, we cripple Damon. This enables a window of opportunity to deal critical damage. Thankfully, we capitalize the moment to our full advantage as the demon falls to our blade, unlocking the Conqueror trophy. Now, you may be thinking, that didn't look so bad. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the worst is yet to come, as this was only the first time we have to defeat him. We make our way to Damon's tomb yet again, triggering the same cutscene intro as before. Thankfully, I was able to decimate Damon this time, eliminating his health bar until... That is right. Damon now has a second stage with a full health bar and expanded moveset. This stage with Damon took 20 minutes of pure gameplay. To make matters even worse, 10 minutes into the fight, he charges up an attack that hits us like a full-scale nuclear attack. This wipes out my entire party, including myself. Thankfully, I was able to utilize a wake stone to bring myself back to life. But this meant with a downside of having to journey the rest of the fight alone. I kept my plan simple, scale up the beast and wail my attacks at his new chest. Thankfully, this simple method led to the defeat of the true Damon, which unlocked the true Conqueror trophy. Now, the final challenge remains, complete speedrun mode. However, prior to this, I would sell all of my wares, which unlocked the coin collector for amassing a total gold count of 10 million. I also purchased every single piece of equipment that was available to me, which unlocked the well-equipped trophy for obtaining a total of 350 different pieces. Now, for the speedrun mode. This mode features no save system, which means you have to complete the game all in one sitting. I thought I would have some fun with this one, as Thanos entered the land of Gransees. All was going well with the run. Nearing the hour mark, I would face the dragon for the last time. Just as we were running along the bridge to get to the ballista, tragedy struck. As we rolled, the platform below us lowered, which meant we were unable to grab onto the ledge in front of us, wiping an hour's worth of progress and an hour's worth of preparation. Devastating. On our second attempt, we would not be stopped. We were on a mission and we would slay the dragon for the final time, activating our wake stones yet again and finally slay the seneschal for the last time. This enables Thanos to be a god himself, achieving the dream.
Of eternity, of infinity, free of the cruel, unending ring.
Unfortunately, Thanos' dream doesn't enable us to platinum, so we utilize the God's Bane blade and we end with a final time of 1 hour, 5 minutes and 34 seconds. The Ever Turning Wheel trophy unlocks for completing our second playthrough, as well as the Sprinter for completing the game in speedrun mode. Now, 62 hours in, the Platinum trophy the true Arisen unlocks. That concludes our wonderful journey through Dragon's Dogma. This game surprised me. I was not expecting the level of story and the amount of gameplay that it would have for a game this old. I can definitely absolutely see why it has built a massive fan base and the reason why it has been clamoring for a sequel for this many years. Dragon's Dogma 2, at the time of this recording, has just released and it is looking absolutely insane. If you really want to see the video, let me know, drop a comment, make sure to like, subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And if you want to support the channel further, just watch another video. That means the world to me. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.